Welcome to another edition of E-Bible Fellowship's Types and Figures. And these Types and Figures segments are designed to help the Bible student understand more about the spiritual nature of the Bible. Well, in recent segments, we've been going through the book of Esther, and we've been looking at the spiritual chronology that the Lord has allowed us to see, these spiritual pictures. And we've noted how Haman, the enemy of Esther and all the Jews, is a type and figure of Satan. When he was exposed and executed by the king on the 17th day of the second month, that was a picture of Judgment Day, which began May 21, 2011, and that day was also the 17th day of the second month on the Hebrew calendar. And that was when Satan was put down and his authority was taken away, and everything that Haman ruled over was then given to Mordecai, and Mordecai we saw as a type of Christ. So it's Christ who's now ruling over all the kingdoms of the world in this present day of judgment. By continuing to look at the book of Esther, we're going to now see how it is that even though Satan has been put down, he still exists, although he's been deposed and has lost all official authority. In Esther chapter 9, Haman has already been hanged, Mordecai is now ruling, yet we read in this chapter that Haman has 10 sons who continue to live. Here we first have to note that God tells us that Haman had 10 sons. And in a previous edition of Types and Figures, we looked at the number 10 and we saw how that represents the completeness of whatever is in view. And in this case, what's in view is the completeness of Satan's activity on earth. So God allowed Haman to have 10 sons continue to live for several months longer, although they had lost all dominion. And like Haman, these 10 sons also represent Satan, just as we read that the beast in Revelation 13, verse 1, had 7 heads and 10 horns. By having Haman killed and allowing his sons to live for months longer, God is showing us that on May 21st, 2011, the power of Satan was destroyed and his dominion was taken away, but he himself will continue to exist until the final day of the Day of Judgment. Let's go over to the book of Daniel and look at Daniel chapter 7, verse 11. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horns spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. Now let's go back and read that verse again, the second part of it. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. And if you didn't read any further, you would think, well, that settles it. The beast, Satan, is gone. He's been gotten rid of. But let's read Daniel 7, verse 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. There we can see how perfectly this matches what happened in the book of Esther. Haman, again, who's the beast, is killed, and yet his 10 sons continue to live for a time. So the 10 sons of Haman are also a picture of Satan, and certainly they lost their dominion. Their dominion was of their father's power. When Haman lost all his power and rule, well, so did his 10 sons. Yet their lives were prolonged. You see, they weren't killed along with their father, but were hung and killed at a later time. The same thing happened May 21st, 2011, spiritually, when Satan was deposed and lost all official rule over the churches and rule over the world and all the kingdoms of the earth. All that dominion and rule was turned over to the Lord Jesus Christ, and yet there remains the rest of the beasts. In other words, Satan still exists, typified by these beasts. They had their dominion taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a season and time. During our present day, Satan can be active in the churches or in the world, but he's doing so without any official authority or rule because Christ has taken his authority away from him. And that was a devastating blow to Satan, obviously, and a severe judgment upon him because it hit him in his pride and in his stout heart. He was in his glory during the Great Tribulation, ruling in an unparalleled manner, but now God has brought him down from ruling over the nations and the corporate church that had the name of the Lord Jesus Christ as Christian churches. Satan had showed himself to be God after God loosed him and commissioned him to come against the congregations, turning them over into his hands. It was all official, but all that official rule was taken away from him, and now Christ rules in the churches and in the world with a rod of iron. So the 10 sons of Haman is teaching us that Satan still exists until the very end of the world, until God causes all of his enemies to perish. And at the end of this prolonged period of judgment, which we're now in, he'll be destroyed. The 10 sons of Haman, a type and a figure of Satan in the day of judgment.